also pulled alongside with Radio Free Europe, wasn't it?
Not Air America. What was the other one?
Mm,
Well, I mean, he's going to pull whatever he can. Uh, NPR gets only a percentage of its budget, but it's
NPR
a healthy percentage.
is a pretty good radio. I recommend.
It is. They get, I want to say, only 30% of their budget from the federal government. So if the federal government pulls it, it's a big deal, but it doesn't take them down.
That's good. More people should donate to them.
Yep.
But yeah, let's not even talk about the second one.
Okay. So
Radio.
what is Radio Free Europe? Why?
Well,
Most Americans, I think,
I
haven't
guess for
heard of it.
Polish
So
people, it was this during the communist quote unquote times. There was no real one of the biggest strangles that have been put on Polish people, and for many people, that was the main reason to oppose the government. The lack of free information, the lack of uncensored books, the lack of uncensored news, like not being able to speak your mind freely, not being able to know what's going on in the world. And Radio Free Europe for many people was a source of actual information of what's going on in the world, right? It was free information, not inhibited, not censored, not, trained.
okay, so free, accurate information. I can
Yeah.
already tell why Trump does not like it. All right.
Definitely compared
Before
to
we,
the communist sort of, you know. I
yeah,
say
yeah.
marks because there's a whole discussion on whether or not the Bolshevik style of communism in any way represented the actual idea, but that's a discussion for another day, I guess.
That's one. And while we're here, so we've dropped a link to Lucy's channel. Sunday, we've had on a few times. You all know Sunday. You know Brooks. But these are the kinds of discussions you will often hear them having, and Lucy is often there. These are when they talk about Marxism, communism, political science, philosophy. It is extraordinarily interesting and I think important stuff. We here do sort of current events, so we don't get as deep into it. We used to. I have a BA in philosophy, but
I do more
definitely
history
worth.
than philosophy, personally.
But definitely worth checking out Lucy's channel for that. And when Lucy's on Sundays, it's always a delight. So, is Andrew, any thoughts on anything we've discussed so far before we get back to Ukraine? Or do you have a question on Ukraine you wanted to ask or anything like that?
My kind of curiosity is, what's the perception of what's going on in the U.S. overseas?
That's a good question.
Yeah, what is on your end? What is your media saying? What is the general population thinking about the things that are going on in the U.S.?
Well, it depends on the political spectrum, of course. There are people that are gonna be super far right. They're gonna cheer like little penguins. They're gonna clap and say it's cool, it's good. Unfortunately, some of the ideas that happen in the United States will inevitably be adopted in other countries. Fortunately, Poland has switched gears. Before 2024, it was ruled by the party called Law and Justice. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Polish party Law and Justice. Are you?
I'm not. No.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
It was this pretty far right party that openly, as the only country in Europe in 2020, basically endorsed Trump. They said openly that in the national news, which was controlled by the party at the time, the idea was floated around that, hey, it feels like a really legitimate theory that it seems very. It feels like it's actually really legitimate to say that this election might have actually been tampered with or even stolen, And then that party, thank God, went away. A more centrist right party got into power with some left-leaning parties in the coalition. And on that side, the perception is that it's just craziness, that it's just either bluffing or insanity. I think the current Polish prime minister says that it's like the whole tariff thing against Europe might just be political bluffing to do some negotiation and arrive at something reasonable, but otherwise it's just nonsensical and baffling what's happening to people on this side of the globe. Like, especially the abandonment of Ukraine, since Poland is a pretty strong ally of Ukraine, especially since the historical relations between these countries have been successfully stabilized.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it's kind of baffling and confusing to some of us too, and we're
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, it's just like let's look at the thing that I've said before, like USA, right? Apart from the fact that it throws away a lot of important humanitarian programs and a lot of people will probably die because of the lack of US aid, and a lot of people will find themselves out of a job because it funded a lot of NGOs. Even from a pragmatic US perspective, it's just flushing the soft power of the United States down the toilet for no reason at all, right?
It certainly seems that way.
Yeah, I have no clue why do it. Like saving, I mean, you would think that you would not want to save money on soft power, right? It's the thing that gives you grounding in the world stage, right? It's the thing that allows you to counter things like countries like Russia or China for that matter. And recently I've read that there was this department that was to monitor and counter foreign influence in the US, and that was gutted as well. People were just sent on leave that work for that department, which to me it sounds insane, considering how aggressively Russia has been meddling in the affairs of other countries, including the United States. And then you take people that are supposed to um, intercept it and counter it, and you basically fire them all, right? That's a lot.
Yeah, I think
You're very quiet.
that would explain why. I am, I guess, unique on the right. It seems that I'm sitting here saying no, we need to stop this. This is not good, and I don't agree with what's going on. And even I'm like, okay, I can at least in theory get behind some of the ideas, what you want to do, but there is a thing called due process. There is a procedure for all these things.
Yeah.
Stop shredding the Constitution. I can't support this. So
Yeah,
it's been a huge issue,
I mean,
and
there's a whole discussion happening about the people that are on the right, the alt-right Republicans, and the emergence of the more radical "Make America Great Again" type of crowd that sort of that they don't really see eye to eye in many things, you know?
and then it just it makes me wonder because there a lot of stuff's been said about Ukraine. I personally believe that we gave Ukraine some assurances, and we should be standing up to those
Yeah,
things
exactly.
and fulfilling those things. And so it just kind of makes me wonder, with Poland being right there on the border, it just kind of makes me wonder what's going through kind of the
I
general
mean,
population of Poland's view. What's going on? What are
there's
we
a lot
doing?
of like Polish people. Let's remember when the invasion started, Polish people freaked out. Polish people panicked, started emptying their accounts because a lot of Polish people thought they would be next very fast, you know? And there's a lot of, I guess, fear about the United States just abandoning Ukraine because, like, Poland's government tries to stand strong and say there can be no negotiations without the Ukraine, and it also tries to arm itself. But Poland is also limited in what it can do. As far as I know, and in my opinion, at this point, Poland should be shooting down missiles and drones at least over the western side of Ukraine, but it doesn't because apparently NATO did not give it an okay to do it because that would be escalation, which to me sounds like a ridiculous proposition. From the beginning of this war, I feel like the West, the whole of the West, not even just the United States, the entirety of the so-called collective West, has been giving Russia escalation dominance for absolutely no reason. It's been just given carte blanche to escalate, 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 and the West has never really given a proper response. And the aid that has been given to Ukraine has been mismanaged from the very beginning. Too little, too late, always after the type of equipment is critically needed, only after Russia has learned how to adapt to it in quantities that are too little to make any difference, and that has been on repeat. and now we are where we are. And there are some voices that look at the situation and say, well, we've spent so much, and I guess this is just unrealistic. No matter what we do, this just cannot be won, right? And I say, yeah, it could have been won if the aid was not as grossly mismanaged as it was from the very beginning.
Well, hopefully we'll get a little bit clearer idea of what's actually going to happen,
Yeah.
because I don't think anybody over here even knows what's going to happen. And
not to even mention the whole rare earth business thing that is happening. Like, it basically says, oh, you want us to respect and actually abide by the Budapest Memorandum, the thing that we promised we'd keep the integrity of your borders if you get rid of your nuclear arsenal. Well, I'm afraid you're going to have to pay for us to do that now, right?
yeah, it's like, oh, by the way, we want to do this quite a long time ago, but now we don't have much of a use for you, and yeah, so pay us to do any of this stuff.
There's also the fact that, God, I wanted to say something. It's sort of out of my mind. But, oh yes, a lot of these rare earth, like Trump titles himself as the deal person, right? The art of the deal. Yeah, deal maker. Yeah. He sort of positions himself as, I don't really care about Ukraine. I don't really care about Russia. Whoever can give me a better deal wins, basically. And that means that since who who is to stop Russia from taking the same rare earths that it has under its control on Ukraine occupied territories, and there's a lot of that on the occupied territories, and saying, hey, you know what? What Ukraine's giving you, we can just match. What now? Treat us better. Treat us better than Ukraine. We'll give you rare earths. We've also got them. There you go. Let's make a deal. And what then? What if Trump accepts?